Sorry about the delay, everybody. This is Dren608. This is my stream of Unconditional Surrender, a variation of the Collapse the UK, Cripple the USSR, or Cripple the UK, Collapse the USSR. This is actually the best showing I've seen, in maybe half a dozen games, versus the strategy that I've pulled off with the British. Anyway, if you like what you see, hit the thumbs up button. Helps the algorithms YouTube for searching when people are looking for videos on unconditional surrender. And it also motivates me to keep putting out content. So like buttons mean that I will keep doing things because people are watching and they like it. If you really like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the, what's it called? The notify button after you subscribe, and then you'll know whenever I'm going to schedule another stream or I'm going to upload a new video. I also stream a oldie but goodie role-playing computer game that I found on Steam. It's called The Bart's Tale, and it was in 3 volumes. I played, I think, volume 1 and 2 back in the day, which was the late 80s, early 90s. They've remastered it, put all 3 volumes in one game, and I'm kind of having a blast just rediscovering that old game. At the time, it was like cutting-edge graphics and storytelling and everything. So that's my other streaming project at the moment. If you like what you see, go ahead and leave me comments on these videos. I do read them. I might not read them immediately, but I do get around to reading them at least every week. And I also will take into consideration, you can find me as Dren608 on Board Game Geek. And I believe I have my game list open for people to look at on there. So you can go in there and you can see what other board games, specifically, conflict simulation games that I have. And if that's something that you would like me to try and do some streams on, and I can find a Vasta module for it or some way to represent it electronically, then yeah, we will do that. Okay. I think that's that. That's our commercial portion of our program. You'll hear it again at the end. We are in November of 1941. We had bad weather last turn. This turn we had fair in the Mediterranean. You might think that's really good for the Germans. And poor, of course, in the Soviet Union, and poor in France right now doesn't really matter in the mild zone. I'm not about to come and try and invade. I do have the BEF up here, but short of trying to go maybe into Norway, and I don't think I'm ready with only a handful of production points to go on a major offensive. All my production points now are funneled into the Middle East over here. I'm going to get over here to that. I got lucky in the summer of 41. I took a long shot attacking the German infantry here, and I took a long shot. It was like, I don't know, maybe a 1 in 6 shot that I could force him to retreat. And I got a good split, and he got retreated, and now it's very hard for the Germans to come back because without air, I can't even get up to like the same plus as him. Because right now, if I used both tanks for the Germans and the Italians, I would be 2 for the German, 2 for a tank, that's 4, and 2 more for the Italian, like in an assault, would be 5, 6, and then it's -1 for the river and -1 for the city, and the British can put an armored, a tanks marker and an airplane into this, which means they'd be at +5 and I'd be at +4. I think it would be about the same chance as what the British had on me. The problem is if I do that and I get a really bad split against me, say I roll a 1, he rolls a 6, I would be AA'd, attack or attrition, and I'd have to be using the German as the primary to make that even come close. If I get an attack or attrition, now I'm a 0 with no armor to back me up, and the British can attack me basically at +2 to 0. force me to at least to retreat, and the British can sit in this hex here, being able to always retreat to Basra. I can't move into Basra because it'd be in zones of control. It's a controlled city. He can still supply himself out of Basra, and he's got a garrison unit down here, so I can't move the Italian down here and up. I could move it down here to threaten to move it up the next turn, but then I'd be in low supply, which means that the British could just come back and whack him in isolation. So you got to be very careful with some of your attacks here in the Middle East because it's dangerous for the Germans. Right now I have the Italians would be +2, the Germans would be +4. The best for British can be, because they're coming across the river, will be +4. So they might go ahead and try and hit the Italians just to force them to retreat. But I really don't have the production points at this point to do anything with it. So it's going to be kind of a stalemate here, I think, for a little bit. I think it's next turn I get a factory. Or maybe I got one this turn. Did I get one this turn? Yes, I got a Lend-Lease this turn. So I'll have to be at 10 production points. So maybe I will try that. The problem is I see this airplane that I'd love to build as well. To start giving me more air power. So there's a lot of things that I need to do with them, especially on the convoy front. Because right now I can't threaten Norway because this convoy is at 6, and I can't. I have another one. What is he here? I have another one sitting here at 6 sorties. So I need to start chipping away at my sorties on my convoys. I think I have sorties to chip away on my fleets. Yeah, on the Mediterranean fleet. So I've got things to do, points to spend, but nothing really aggressive with the British. And then the Soviets, I made a mistake in my defensive run. I tried to hold along the Donetsk, Kharkov, Kursk, Orel line. And I shouldn't have. That was what I did in August, and I shouldn't have, because what it did is I only lost like 5 armies there, but what it did do is it weakened me enough that he could then break across the Don in September. And then in October, he's just sort of consolidating himself, kind of getting ready for the Russian winter. And that's what this turn's going to be too. I'm going to probably move either one of these armored or one of these infantry need to move down in here too, because come the Russian winter, the Russian infantry and the soon-to-be shock armies and things will start, gathering, and then probably in January or something like that, they'll be able to start launching a major attack. The one good thing about for the Germans that I did do in that September turn is I basically split him into 2 fronts. He's got a southern front now, which you can see he's got several people here. I got lucky with the Turks early on. I think it was in August, maybe. And I took Batum. Might have been in September. I think it was September. I took Batum, so now the Russian line is back here. It's still only facing Turks, so it should be able to hold out for a while, because now he only has 2 hex attacks on this guy, and it'll be across mountains, so he'll be -2. Short of him moving a German infantry and stuff in here, we have problems. I haven't figured out if I'm going to have this shock army come over here and help us try to fight the Turks, or if we're going to start to move up and try and do something to take back Rostov. Right now I'm low on factories. One good thing that the Soviets have going for them is they still hold on to Vyborg, because I just haven't been able to get off a decent attack. That will be coming this turn with the Germans, hopefully. And then this convoy, unfortunately for the Germans, it's going to be 1 attack here, and this convoy's got to go back to Norway because it needs to keep this airplane in supply, because I don't want to lose any of these guys. And unfortunately right now, I don't have any way of supplying them other than the German convoy. So it's a little bit of a logistics nightmare right now in Finland and Norway. Okay, where are we? Oh, we're at declaration of war. No, I got enough wars going on right now. And same thing with the Brits, and same thing with the Soviets. It's like 1 war at a time. All right, Germany's got to think about this. They got 28 points. They know they're going to have weather where their aircraft isn't going to matter next turn. Okay. So they know that's going to happen. At some point here, I really need to ship a German aircraft down into the Middle East, and I need to get my my stuff together. I'm going to have to replenish that convoy. That's 3, probably 3, 6, 9 at least. So I'm going to need to save 9. I'm trying to think of how many guys I'm going to need to move here in the poor weather. This is a little disconcerting that he has a 3x attack. I mean, I got lucky and took Bologoya, but right now I can't retreat the guy out of there. So a multiple assault on Bologoya could see me losing a German army. So yeah, there's some things going on, to say the least. Plus, he's also now he's got a supply problem. So that was probably an overreach by the Germans. I don't think I can really afford. Do I need to move both Romanians? That's what I need to check. Got one up the front. This guy's basically in. These two are basically in defensive mode to keep any breakout from the Crimea within reason. So I'm not really going to move any extra Romanians. Finns. You know, if I get lucky on this assault, I might need to move, or if I troubles in River City. I think I'm going to give one to the Finns just because I think I might need to move 2 of their guys. One's going to be in the attack, and I'm thinking I want to have an extra point just in case I'm missing something. All right, we've done our thing. So we're into strategic warfare. There's nothing for either one of us to play, so off we go. The Germans are at +1. And remember, I used to be at +3 to +3, but by losing Basra and Kuwait, that area there to the west, now I'm only +1. So this is where the Russians can possibly start causing problems for the Germans. And we got lucky. I rolled a 5 and he rolled a 2, so we just kind of stayed in stasis. And now I'm only +4 to the British 0, but he's already at 9 lost factories. So let's see, +4. The minimum I can get's a 5, so I can't lose a factory, but he might gain one back. And it didn't. I rolled a 1, he rolled a 2, but my +4 to his +0 is the difference. Once the Americans come in, that'll be +2, and +4 to +2 means he's probably going to start grinding back his lost factories and start getting more production points for the British, which will hurt me badly. All right, I have a German strategic movement, or an Axis one, I should say. And my last one was to go plug up this peninsula. I'm trying to think, is there any... I think I need to move... Probably have to move these 3. Might have to move the Italian to be a backstop up here in the north. This armored unit's probably going to go 1, 2. The Italian can't get to there. So that's 3, 4, 5. -2, so it'd be a +3 to a +1. I might get a retreat. Just trying to think of how many guys I need to move. Right now I'm counting 7. Probably 8, 9. I'm going to have to move somebody into here, to this space. So if I'm going to have to move somebody into that space, then I need to have somebody in this space. Which means I need to have somebody. See, unfortunately, I can't rail into the space I need to be in. This is not good. Not good at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. -2 plus 2 to +1. Yeah. So I was looking at this attack here. So I'm thinking I need to get dear. See, this is the problem when you get this deep into Russia, this early. You run out of units to being able to form coherent lines. Unfortunately, the Russians are a little behind on, having their full army in the field or whatever. Because I was, and this is the way I usually play the Russians. I always play like the Germans are going to roll a 1 in October and November. I try not to stay out like in the open where come poor weather I can actually, make a huge counterattack. But I know they won't get it now going December onwards until at the earliest May of 1942. So it's like my Soviet turn is going to be basically moving all these armies up close to where the Germans are so I can start doing reasonable assaults with my assets that I'm going to get here in December. I'm going to pick up some more armies. I should have all 4 of my shock armies on the board. So, I'm getting ready for a major counteroffensive during the winter to hopefully take back at least 1, if not 2 cities. 3 is stretching it because it usually takes 2 shocks and an infantry in the assault to make a difference, because the infantry can add a tank to be +1. 2 shocks is another +2 each in poor weather. So then that's 5. If you can throw in an airplane, that's 6. And then minus at least 1, possibly 2 for the if you're taking a city. So the best we're looking at is me being +4 and the Germans being +2, and then halved for the severe. So those are usually, pretty much you're going to get retreats there. Yeah, I might get lucky and get a DD, but you really can't follow up on the DD because you've used so many assets just to, take the hex. So the idea is to take the hex and kind of straighten out the line as you're going. So looking at it from the German standpoint, I really need to get somebody up here. I need to have a unit in this hex here where you see my mouse kind of hovering. I need to have a guy there. So I can put a guy there, then I can move this Yugoslav to here and this German infantry to there. And that gets me my supply fixed for the guy in Bologoya, which requires the Russians then to set up for, multiple assaults, because otherwise he'll flip me and I'll just rebuild myself. It's going to take at least a 2 assault try to take me out of that city. Who do I have available? That's what I guess I have to look at. I'm only looking in the east. Maybe I have something somewhere else. You really don't want to send a garrison unit there, because garrison -2, it can just go poof. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to take a bit of a chance here. I know the British are kind of all strapped up on their convoys, not having sorties. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the 11th. Garrisons will have to hold Italy for now, because I really need to make sure that things go off in the east. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Italian there. Taking a very slow train to Russia. And I don't blame him because the Russian winter's coming. There he is. Ta-da! All right, we're done with that. Oh. What next? The West doesn't really have a strategic move because the only place they could do it would be in England or down here. And they don't have any spaces they can strategically move because of zones control. And I don't think there's anything I want to move around in England. I think we're all in our places, right? Sitting on the 3 ports, or 2 ports, and guarding London from being able to invade by a hex and move in. There's a physical unit sitting in London to dissuade the paratrooper, and the closest they can get to Cardiff is Cherbourg, which is 4 hexes away. So they cannot airdrop in either to take a port. This is sort of like, at least when I'm facing this kind of, where I've lost the Middle East or whatever, this deters pretty much most Germans from trying to do a sea line. The fact that Home Fleet has no sorties on it, and that Med Fleet probably by the time, that means that his supply can be really messed up. And it also requires them to at least commit 2 aircraft to take out Fighter Command and then be able to get through Home Fleet. That's why I was thinking if I can get the other British 2 RAF built, if I can get that built this turn. So you see, I have 10 now production points with the British. So now I can basically do 3 9s or 2 6s and a 4 as far as replenishments go. So I mean, this first one's probably going to be 369 in the Middle East to try and get me ahead on the convoy count down there and get my airplane in as close to 0 as possible, because the Germans are going to have to send an aircraft that way. Okay. I don't see a good strategic move. I mean, I could move the BEF somewhere. But right now, as soon as I can get this convoy down, that means the BEF that is mobile. I can move it to the Middle East. I can move it down to Gibraltar if I think the Russians are going to fall, and then I want to have a real army in Gibraltar to deter Spanish conquests and so on. So I think we're going to say no. And then we got to go over to the Soviets, and this is a quandary. Now, you can't just shift armies anymore. Back when you held them at the Don and to Rezev or whatever, or along this line here, as long as you had the lines into Moscow and going south, free of German units or zones of control, you could strategically move from the north. Okay, the Germans pushed everybody to the south. I can strategically move somebody south to help bolster my armies down there, or vice versa to the north. I can't do that anymore. Now I have to walk around them before I can strategically move them. So I'm kind of what's in the south is what's in the south, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in a shock army. So, yeah, not a lot. And into the north is everybody else around Moscow. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a shock army. And then these airplanes now are in their safe havens. Yes, they aren't helping in my defense, but I think because of the Russian winter coming up, they'll be at 2 sorties each at the end of this turn if I can get my spending under control here. I'm at 18, and I have 2 to build. I have 3 to build, so that leaves me at 15, and then I have 3 airplanes, which is 9, so that leaves me at like 6 guys I can move with the Russians. So I'm probably not going to do a lot of attacking. I'm thinking I might just be moving up to wherever the German lines kind of are. Because next turn they're going to be in severe, which means the best they can do to me is retreat me. Because they're halved on their die rolls. So it's like even if you have a +6, let's say, for isolation and, and 3 guys. So that, it's like 2, 3, 4, and you have isolation. That's +6 against me, but you're in severe, so which means the best you're going to roll is a 6. And I'm in poor, so if I can just get a +1 in poor, like from a tank or an airplane, if I can get +1, the best you can get is a retreat on a 6-1 split. So that's the reality of the Russian winter. The Germans, at best, are going to be able to retreat, for the most part, a Russian unit. You could do, if you surround one, you could like attack it 3 different times at like +2.5, +2.5, +2.5, to try and just exhaust his stuff. Okay, but that requires the Russians to like give you something. Okay, so it's a little harder to do any kind of spectacular breakthroughs. You might be able to knock off a Russian unit here and a Russian unit there that doesn't have a retreat route. Maybe it's been blocked by its own guys or something. You might be able to get 1 or 2 of those, but for the most part, it's going to be the Russians are going to be pushing the Germans around a bit for like 3 turns. Then in March and April, it all becomes sort of even, where we all are in the same weather. And then come May is when, there's the 1/3 chance of a fair weather turn in May of 42. I think it's 50-50 in June. And then on to, July, August, September. Sitting only at 30 will points, the Germans should be able to take the Russians down by September of 1942, unless I make a huge blunder. So, like I did with the Russians, defending one line too early. That final defense line really should be done in September, when the odds are in your favor of there being bad weather. And that should have been along the Don. Instead, I tried to defend along the city line, which is usually a futile thing, and I should have known better. But it looks so good. Okay. So again, I don't really have a good strategic move here. I mean, I could, like, move this guy from Akastran. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll put him up, because I don't want the Germans to get out here too far. So what I'm thinking, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, he can get me surrounded is my problem. Because I was thinking of like going to here. Let me just show you. I was thinking of putting this dude like here, right? It's like, let's limit his advances, right? Well, at this point they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and just stick like a Romanian out here. And then this armored unit could go 1, 2, 3, or they could even put a German infantry 1, 2, 3, 4, which could assault here. And you could have the armored come over here, sit in this woods, which is not a bad place for it to sit in the first turn of the winter, when the Russians are trying to get to something here. He could sit into this woods, you'd be isolated, so he'd be 3, 4, 5, -2, so he'd be +3 to 0. If you throw in the infantry, it could be +1, but you probably do him as a separate assault. So, you have +3 to +1 if he uses his tank, and then +3, +2 to +1. And that would use up all his tanks. And then you go and attack, someplace else where it's more important, like around Bologoye. So, Yeah, that's probably not the best place to put him. I do want to get him out of there because that's a long way to march. Just not sure which side of the tracks I should sit on. I'm thinking I'm going to set him down. Because I really don't think I'm going to do many attacks here with the Russians in the fall. I have, I only really can move 6 guys, and I see like 1, maybe 2, 3, 4 in the south, and then 5 to move this guy forward. 6, 7, 8. That would only leave me 10, which would not be enough. Because I gotta leave myself 12 to build the infantry and bring down all my air. Maybe I don't bring down all my air. I don't know. Because I'm thinking I need to build another shock army towards the north, so I have something to try and push for a city up there. And then I need to build another shock down here, one of these southern cities, to try and do the same thing. So I'm just trying to think of whether is there a good place to stick this guy to save me the production point of having to try and move him. Now, you don't want to strategically move a flipped over unit like the shock army, because then you can't. That's right, I need to save 2 more to replenish those guys too, don't I? Yeah, I don't think I want to go that far north. I think we're going to go super defensive. We're going to just sit outside of Stalingrad. I think we're going to go there. Okay. So now we get to go off to the German action subphase. So now we got to try and think of where do we want to defend for the poor weather turns. And remember I was talking about we got to do something here. So the Italians are going to have to try and contain Leningrad for now. The Germans are going to go ahead and move into here. It sets me up for attack next turn with severe. The Italian Air Force, since it really doesn't have a target, is going to move. Okay, it needs to be in the hex where the 4th Luft is. 4th Luft probably needs to move. One, two, three, four, 5. It would cover all the way here, here, and then it would cover from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cover up to there. So I am leaving the Yugoslav kind of weak, sitting where he's at. But if I save the Italian tank, well, I'm probably going to get used in the Middle East. But the Italians are okay. If I can get their airplane here, there'll be an extra +1, and he's -1 for the river, -1 for the forest, -1 for the weather. So he's going to attack me at -3 to start with. I don't think he can recover from that. Could probably get it down to a -1 to my +1. And then I also want to be able to guard wherever this Italian's going to end up, which is probably going to be right where he is. And from this hex where the 4th is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So the Italian Air Force could guard both its infantry and just kind of sit here until it has a target, a Russian Air Force show up. Out where it can reach it and not behind those invisible force walls of the dotted line. I really think those things shouldn't apply to airplanes until like Russian will is under 30 or something. But it's a play balance thing, so game balance. So that's what I'm doing there. So I need to move this airplane. I don't want to forget. I want to be covering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like to be able to cover Tula, but then I can't cover that hex. That's really unfortunate for me. There's really not a good place to do this. I'm going to put it here rather than in the city, because if I get into a point where he can somehow manage to get into the city, then I would lose the sortie to fly it, but I don't think he's going to be able to get this far. This airplane now covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to behind this river, all this infantry, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of the units that will be in this arc over here. Okay, and then this German, Italian airplane is going to fly here. As I pointed out earlier, it's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to this ground unit, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to this ground unit. So keep the Italians in the arc of their airplane for now, because I don't have any Russian aircraft to use. And if I get this down a couple of sorties, a couple of turns, I might even just... Now it needs to stay here for 1942. But I might move a German aircraft southward. That might be what I do here. Because I really can't use it. There's really not a good attack anywhere. I mean, I'm going to make one right here to try and straighten this line out a bit. But there's really not a good attack for me. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Shock Army can't get involved with a combat up here. Okay, I'm going to make 2 attacks up here, which is going to exhaust my airplane. So I guess I don't have a choice on this. I really want to try and straighten this line backwards. And then this guy would have no retreat out when I'm doing my severe attacks, is the idea. So we're going to go this way. He's going to move here, so he's not going across the river. And then he's going to assault, and he's going to assault. And we try it. And now, right now I'm +2 to his 0. I'm going to throw in the airplane so that I'm +3. Okay. And then he's got to look at it and say, is that hex that important? From my perspective as the Russians, I have 3 guys I'm going to build. I'm going to get 4 more guys next turn. If there's somehow a 6-1 split here, the armored unit doesn't help me. I still lose the hex, the tanks unit. And I think I'm going to need the tanks to try and do any kind of counterattack and or maybe defend something that's far more important, but I don't see anything that... I don't see a major attack, but I'm thinking maybe the Russians might want to have it to try and, take a shot at getting something. So I'm going to save the tanks markers for right now, and we're going to see how that works. Okay? So I'm going to let that one go. +3 to 0. Here we go. And we commit. And he got a 3 + 3 is a 6. I rolled a 4. If I'd rolled a 5, I'd have held the hex, but I'm really not that worried about it. And then the Germans are going to take it with the armored unit, because that now, hopefully, because now I'm in lousy terrain with the armored unit. So, and then our last assault probably, and then I have a little bit of movement, and I think I'm going to be done. We're going to go here, start off with this guy. So right now I'm a +1, and I can add a tank +2. Now this is one where, seriously speaking, this is probably the more important hex. Because if I lose this hex, then his I don't have that multiple assault with no retreat possibility in the future. So I think I'm going to go ahead and spend my tank here, so it's only a +2 to a +1. He could make it a +3 if he throws in his tanks, but then, as we discussed, it's fair weather in the Med, and if I don't have my tanks available, the British could be attacking me at like +4 to +2, forcing me to retreat, and, you know, kind of busting things open there. So I think we're going to go ahead and use the tanks here for the Soviets. Yeah, we all commit our stuff. And it didn't matter because I rolled a 6 and he rolled a 3 + 2. But, you know, if I hadn't, I would have probably rolled a 1. So, all right, so we held them off there. We're keeping everything in supply. All right, now we got to now we come down here to the southern part of the Russian front. And I really need to kind of solidify what's going on down here. And I guess the real question is how far forward do I want to be? I mean, I do need to guard against this guy, you know, ending up with no retreat route, which means I have to be either in this hex here. I'll just undo moves. I either need to be in this hex where the 9 is, because I don't want him to run around this way. I could try to go out to 7, but if I go out to 7, a guy here and a guy here cuts off my retreat route, can make me isolated. So if I go to 7, I almost have to go like in a line like this and then back. That seems like a little bit too far advanced because I need to use all 3 of my units, and I'm trying to only use 2 here. Maybe a third. Huh. I just don't have enough units. Because I really feel exposed down here. These guys feel like they're ripe for the taking come the poor weather. So I need to do something about that. And the fact that I'm already at this city is causing me some problems. Dilemmas. So do I go like where this 7, this 8, and this 7 are? And then I can take this guy and put him here, where this 4 is. Who do I put in the front 7? I think I want the armor in the open. Well, come severe, it's not going to matter because they're all going to be 2s. I keep forgetting. Next turn is going to be severe, so wherever I'm at is going to be 2s. I may just have to withdraw back towards the dawn. Shorten my lines. So just don't have enough units to form a proper line this deep into Russia. And that's something you kind of got to keep track of with the Germans, is you will run out of time, run out of space to be able to place your armies really well. So I'm gonna see, I don't have any reserves, which is what's bothering me. I'd like to have at least one of these armored units sitting back in behind this river on a rail line, so that wherever the Russians break through, I can just run him up to plug the line the next turn while I rebuild whatever I lost. And I really don't have that right now. I do not have a reserve right now. And that's dangerous. So, knowing that, what the heck, let's try and make it spectacular. We will put, whoops, what did I just do? I just turned him off. No. Alright, let's be a little bit spectacular here. We're not going to try and do anything fancy with attacks. We're just going to set ourselves up. Put the infantry in the center because it's hardest to get to. Now, mind you, this would work much better if I had more ground units. Like at least 2 more. Because ideally, the best way to do this is to have 2 infantry where these 2 armored are, and have these 2 armored like about 3 hexes behind for the Russian winner to behind the Don or whatever. And just like, oh, he broke through there? Okay, we'll take care of that. That kind of thing. Unfortunately, I could technically pull one of these infantry units in France. I could send it off to the east because I have a full infantry unit sitting in Stavanger. So I would still fulfill my western home defense, but then, you know, at some point I have to send it back because once the British start getting their convoys and stuff back to where they have decent number of sorties, if all I have is 2 infantry, real infantry actually sitting in France, he might be very tempted to go ahead and try and, you know, I would be tempted as the British to go ahead and invade there just to put relief off the Russians, pull a German unit from the Russians. So it's tightrope. Okay, was I going to move any German minor allies? Technically, I could do that. Okay. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything about his airplanes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How far can I get? Yes, I can. I thought I could. This is why taking Batam was so crucial. Ooh, yeah. Because I can fly this airplane to here. Now, you couldn't do this with an Italian one because he couldn't do then this part of this move. And I can take this German aircraft and I can put it down. Where are you? 5, 6, 7, 9. So from here, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That line there. And I'm going to have to replenish it. So I'm just going to stick this German aircraft like, I don't know, over here for now. And yes, he's at 6 sorties, but that means at the end of this turn he'll be at 4. At the end of December he'll be at 2. Depending on what, you know, the British right now had to play some supply games last turn. They'll be able to supply all 3 of these guys this turn. So this guy will go down to 2 when I'm at 4. He'll be at 0 when I'm at 2. So, you know, I will have air support in a couple of turns here. The air isn't going to help me in Russia come severe weather. It's kind of pointless. It's just targets for the Russian Air Force. So I think... One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this airplane's going to base here. More because if I miss something and there's a decent assault. Okay. So I can defend one of those Germans along the way. One of my miners I can defend with the ground support. That takes care of that. I don't see me moving the Yugoslavs. They're kind of in the places they have to be to help my supply lines right now. Actually, this Yugoslav doesn't need to be here anymore, because I have a supply line this way, and until he cuts it, I might as well keep it. So I think I'm going to take the Yugoslav and get him out of the line, because he's a weak point, being a 0 point. He can become a 1, but like the Italian is also behind a river, so it's -2 to him. This guy could be assaulted from here, so it would be a -1, and then he could throw in, still has a tanks marker. So if he wanted to, he could like try to take this hex, and then that's kind of threatening, you know, isolation and surrounding and all sorts of things, because you can move this guy over here, and then this guy can't get out, and I have to try and attack in severe weather. So I think I'm going to move the Yugoslav out, and we're going to put him, for right now, we're just going to put him back here on this rail line. Kind of sort of a reserve, but not. I mean, he's not the one you want to have in reserve, okay? You want the armored unit in the reserve because it can move farther. But right now, that's the best I could do. This one I'm going to leave there, but I am going to start heading this other Yugoslavian garrison unit into the Soviet Union, because, again, it's kind of sort of a reserve. What you do with some of these really lousy units like this Romanian, he's within 3 of home country, but he can garrison Odessa. So if somehow the Russians are, break through or whatever, they can't just run to Odessa. They actually have to have the 3 movement points left to attack. And the same thing with this guy. I think I'm going to put him in Depnostric for the same reason. Somehow they break through this German and they bust this Romanian, phenomenal die rolls, let's say. And they somehow just managed to do all that without me figuring out how they did it. But I'm sure if you did the math, it's probably not possible. But I don't want to have to think about it. So if I put this guy in like Depnostric or even in Kharkov, if he breaks through, he has to have movement points left to attack the city. And trying to get, behind my lines with an extra 3 movement points is going to be tough. You do not want to put these guys in the front lines, like this guy was up here, because then they allow the Russians to set up, future problems for the Germans, especially knowing that severe weather is coming. I don't want them to be able to force me into having to try to attack to get myself back into supply. I'm trying to keep myself in supply from all these things. I do have a bit of a issue right now that I've kind of left myself open for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I could stop that. Maybe I should stop that. I could stop that, and then I gap this one over here. What have I spent for the Russians? I got 15 for the Germans. That's going to require me to spend another one to leave me 14. Do I have anything to build? I don't have anything to build. 14 is not a good number. 15 is a better number. But I really need to move the German over there. All right, what I'm looking at is this space right here. Okay. The reason why I'm looking at it is this guy here could move to here. He gets off an assault. If he forces me to retreat, though, I can retreat into reserve. And then he's cutting off my armored unit. So that's why that wasn't a good move. Now I know why I didn't want to do that. That's right, I was going to attack here on the 33rd, try and force it to retreat, take the hex with an infantry unit, leave the armored unit behind, and then I was going to put the Italian. Okay, well, oops. So the real question is, do I want to spend another point for the Italians? They don't have a lot to do with their production points at this point. I can spend a production point for the Italians, go 1, 2, I can just show you. I would just show you. Oh, I can't get there. Oh, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't get to this hex. So, So I guess I don't want to move that Italian. Just don't have anything to do with his points anyway. So I could move him into that city. He'd only be able to attack with one guy in a tank. That's +1, minus 1, 2. So he'd be a -1, and I'd be a +1. I guess he could get lucky. Kind of what happened in Basra. So I don't think I want to do that. Huh. So maybe we'll do this a little bit different. We're gonna leave that semi-vulnerability there. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. There's no real good place for that Italian to go. Until I need to like hold up supply or whatever. Because I don't want to stick him. If you stick an Italian in the front line, you need to be ready to use the tanks marker. Possibly. I mean, I do have 2 sorties on the airplane, so I could handle 2 attacks. Maybe I do want to do that. But then I have to move a German to plug this hole. And I want to be able to do like the convoy and a couple of airplanes. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. We're going to leave that hole there. Sort of hole. The only other thing we're going to... Oh, that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend a point anyway for the Germans anyway. So we can go ahead and do that. Let's see how we... that's what I was going to do. Ugh. Because I'm 1, 2, 3, -2. +1 to +1. I knew I messed up. This airplane wasn't supposed to fly this way. This airplane was actually supposed to like fly up to here and help me try to take Viborg. And I didn't do that. And the other airplane, I already moved the other direction. So I screwed up. Screwed up big time. Let's go for luck. That's all we've got. So we're going to go here. Hello. We're going to go here. Ta-da. And then we'll start with the German. Now, question is do I want to take my chances at +4 to +2 in the Middle East? And try to take Viborg? What do you think, guys? Nobody's online with me right now. Right now it's +1 to +0. So if we looked at this combat results table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 and 36 that I succeed. If I throw everything in for both sides. Let's see what the odds are now. If everybody commits their stuff. I hate this. So if everybody committed their stuff, it would go up to 6 and 5 is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Goes up to a 50-50 chance. Now, if the Russians don't commit their tanks, it goes way up there. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a 1 in 4 chance that he holds it. Okay? So that's kind of the mathematics there. 50-50 if everybody throws everything in, or 75% chance that the Germans take the hex if I don't throw in my tanks with the Russians. So now you have to look, okay, we know the Germans are going to do this. They're probably going to throw everything in. So now you look at it from the Russian perspective, it's like, where can your tanks make a difference if they can make a difference? There's not going to be any real attacks in the south. It's going to be like move up to the line. That's what we're going to be doing, right? So we don't have to worry about that. We've only got 6 guys we can move. And are we really going to attack anywhere? I don't see it. If this armored attack here had not worked, yeah, I might have done it. I could move this guy down here to try and do this attack. It's not very good. I'd have to fly an airplane in. Then I could be 1, 2, 3, 4, -2. I'd be +2 to +2. Not very good odds of moving him. Not the best things to do. I should probably wait until I have a shock army that I can put in there that gives me the extra +2. And then I also, by doing this, I'm giving him the ability to move into this railroad hex. So I don't want to do that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could move this guy over here, but then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I said I only really want to move 6 guys because I want to do 3 builds and I want to get all my airplanes down for the winter offensive. So I don't see myself doing any real attacks. I really don't see myself doing very much movement, other than trying to just close with the Germans so I can assault next turn. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do it. We're going to just throw the kitchen sink at Viborg from both sides. Okay? Germans, because they were dummies and didn't move their airplane up here. So it's +3 to, and if you look at the CRT, I think we counted it out, it's 6 and 5 is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it's a 50-50 shot that the Germans take the hex. We confirm, and we commit, and it'll probably be no effect. Oh no, I got lucky. A 3+3 and a 3+1. So it's a retreat. So it would have been a retreat either way, but came close to not having to worry about it. Now, this is where you have to be careful with the Russians. Supply trap, as Mr. Robert Bracey has told us many times in his videos. You retreat this guy down to here, into this space, right here. You retreat him into that hex. What hex is that? Let's zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. Oops, going the wrong way. So in 1544, if you retreat this guy to here, the reason why I gave the Finns an extra point is for this very reason. You go to there, I'm going to go ahead and send this garrison unit. It's just going to go 2, 4, 6. And now you've got to attack out because you're going to be out of supply. So you're going to have to attack me to move me. Okay? So you don't want to go to that hex. You want to go to this hex. 14444. Now, a lot of people when they're playing Finland, they try to put this garrison unit in this space and in this guy here. The problem with that is then you need to have another unit down here somewhere almost immediately. Because otherwise, the Russians save their tanks, they do an attack here, and then they, you're retreated. So let's say you retreat to this hex over here, and then they advance to here. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They attack with another tank, and they force that guy to go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Finland is conquered. Right out of Leningrad, and then they build a unit in Leningrad. So, no, you got to be very careful with the Finns on how you set up. If you remember, I had them set up much differently. I've just moved them. Once the German infantry showed up, then it's like I moved the Finns into position over like 3 turns, and then the German moved up, and then it's like finally in this turn we did it. So we're going to take it with the Germans because they're +2 in defense. Okay. Now this guy is no longer, he can't pull off any shenanigans here. So what I'm going to worry about now is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I put him. All right. The idea here is to be in a mobile reserve situation. So I'm actually putting him there, and you might go, "What the heck? How is that even semi-relevant?" So let's discuss that a bit. From this hex, it's 1, 2, 3. Let's zoom out 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can get all the way up the north road, or I can just run up to this road if he blows this guy up. If he gets him and moves all the way up here, I can move up across the river, or I can sit behind the river in the city. So even though I'm -2, here -2 coming across. If somehow you push this guy, he's going to go onto this side of this river, and good luck. Let's say somehow you start to, you kill the Finn and you flip the German. This guy can run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He can actually get a hex in front of Helsinki. Same thing here. He can go there, or he can fill in the middle. So from that hex, he can actually move to fairly good defensive positions. And as a garrison, he's really not worth attacking. When he's doing the attacks, he's got to be combined with somebody else in an assault. And at this point, you've done the most important thing. You've taken Vyborg, which is a factory from the Russians, which cuts down on their production, which is important because those Euro factories just keep rolling in every other turn, and then there's Lend-Lease that next turn. So it's like taking his factory is really not going to affect his production points in that they're going to be the same next turn because he's going to get another factory. But you helped with a little bit on the morale side. His willpower now is down under 30. So yeah, and then for me, that's one of the hexes to kind of, you put him there. He's not much of a mobile reserve, but he is a reserve to try and slow down the Russians to give you a chance to put somebody someplace that's important. All right, so we're knowing that we had to spend that point in order to take Vyborg, which means we're only going to really have 12 to spend with the Germans. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to send the Italian into the city. Into the city. Hello. To the city. Yes. Very good. Then we're going to put this German in here. Now it does let him, back up a space. But I pretty much have to give him that because I can't have him. Oh, wait a minute. Where can he go? Let's undo this. Let me think about this. Can he actually go anywhere that hurts me? I might not need to do that. I wasn't thinking. Undo this. Come on. Let's think about this. Where can he go? This infantry unit can't move here because he's in zone control of this. Can't move there because he's in zone control of that. Let's say somehow he blows this, gets these three guys to move this armored unit back a space. Okay, if the armored unit's here, he can move one, and then he's stopped by the zone control. He still can't move here. Can't move out or across. Can't get across the river. I actually can hold it right there. I don't need to spend that one. I do have 14, which is an odd number, but I really don't have a lot of anything else to do. So in case I missed something, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to move. He's accomplished his goal. He's unfortunately going to have to go to low supply next turn. So he's only going to be a 0, but we need to get this guy back to... I don't want escort, because there's no Soviet bad guy to get me. We're going to have to go back to Oslo, because I don't want to lose that airplane. The airplane goes to no supply in your... in the voluntary removal phase or whatever, the low supply, supply check phase. Airplanes and fleets that are at no supply just get removed. Garrison that would be at no supply would be considered losing a step. It only has one step, so it would be removed. So I need to get him back here. Put this guy in supply. These guys can stay at limited supply on Oslo. Then I'll get a couple of sorties back, and I can start, you know, supply 1, get 2 for a little while through the winter. I'm only going to have 12 points, so 2 of them, or 3 of them are going to go here. Probably 3, 6, 9, 12 for this one down here, because this is the other guy that's got to come up. Right? I've got Turkish points to spend. Turks to move! I think we talked about... So you got to be careful with the Turks, because they're going to end up in severe, because they're in Russia. So you probably don't want this guy sitting there. Because they can get to this hex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, maybe not this turn, but okay, let's do that. Let's try to get the Russians to stay here and fight me. He'll go to there. Go to there. 3. And then the last one is to get this guy on the road. Probably here, I guess. I don't know, there's no good place for him to go. I'm just thinking from a garrison standpoint, I might need him over here in Baghdad at some point. Okay. I wasn't going to move the Iranians. There's 14 and 11. Yeah, I think I'm done. Alright, I'm done with the Germans. Took me a little over an hour to do that. We're not going to eliminate anything. Let's keep going. Now we got to do supply. Okay, first we do the easy one, supply all over land. now we've got to go down here, and we're leaving him in low. Let's see, I have things I have to supply now. So he's got to stay in supply. Alright, this guy is definitely easy. First, is he the one over here? Yeah, first has got to stay at full supply. This airplane, because we don't want to lose it, has to stay in full supply. I've only got one sortie up there. Okay. This guy needs to stay in full supply, and so does this airplane. So right now, I could supply them all. So there's one guy I don't need to supply is, hello? Hello, hello, hello. I'm missing the number. Let's turn you off. Turn you off. Jeez. Who is this? It's the 9th. So the 9th is going to go to limited supply. Right? Because there's no threat of an invasion this turn. Good old BGA. Saturday. Yep, and I think that we supply everybody else then. Just in case. Okay, so now we're into the west. So now I have to make a decision. I do have 2 tanks markers now, and I have a free forces marker. So my thought is, I have 10 production points. If I spend 2, I'm in that same situation I was before where I can only replenish 2 things. I want to be able to replenish 3. As much as I would like to just like attack, I don't think I can afford to. Not until I have this. I know the German aircraft is coming, so I need to be able to play against the German aircraft. And with only 10 points, it's going to be both convoys and the aircraft down here in the Middle East. Sorry about that. Right? So I'm thinking I'm not going to do anything. I need to wait a couple of turns and get my production points spending in the right places. Specifically, getting the Middle East into a situation where it can actually... Whoa, what was that? Where it can actually defend itself. Okay? I know you might say, no, be aggressive, attack. No. This is a problem I see with a lot of people that play Unconditional Surrender, and they're playing the main event, and it's like they want to end the game now. They want to go conquer Germany, and it's, you know, the end of 1941. And it's like, folks, the game is 72 turns long. You are not under time pressure as the Western Allies until sometime in 1943. You need to start making ground back. Okay, in this situation, I'm very lucky. I was very lucky with the British. I took a long shot. I managed to knock that German infantry back a space, took Basra, so I'm ahead in the strategic warfare right now. As far as modifiers go, I'm ahead of where I should be. This shouldn't happen until sometime late in 1943, when the Germans are starting to pull things back to the east to get ready for the Russian re-entry. And then you see the British, you know, pull off some kind of an invasion or whatever, or a double invasion with the American surprise attack marker to take back Kuwait and Basra. Okay. Or they do a double invasion to like push into Suez, and then they spread out from there and they go running around. You're under time pressure at that point. Sometime in 1943, you're starting to get under time pressure to make ground back. If the Russians have collapsed, that time pressure is going to be compressed down into, late 43. The West has to do something to start, chipping away. In 43, they've got to start chipping away at the German position. They're not going to get very far because they don't have like the entire American army yet. That doesn't show up until the beginning of 44, really. And then it's like you get a unit like every turn for 4 or 5 turns. I think it's 4 turns. So, that's all well and good when they start rolling in, and then you don't want to wait until they're all on the board before you go and do your overlord or whatever. You want to be established somewhere, a toehold somewhere, whether it's Basra, Kuwait, the Suez. Maybe if Spain's in the war and they took Gibraltar, you go and try and take that back, or the Italian, French North Africa, Spain, something like that. You want to have some place that the Germans, have to allocate a couple armies just to keep you in check. Like here, I've pulled an aircraft off the Eastern Front because the Germans can't really have the British go running around and recapturing all of the Middle East. So they had to go send some support down there for these these bad weather months. But by March, it's got to start flying north so that it's available for the second half of the Russian invasion. Because Russian air, while it's not very good in air-to-air combat or whatever, if you don't have German air supporting your attack and they have Russian air supporting theirs, you're now, like an infantry it's +2 to +2. Those are not real good odds on you, pushing him out of your way and being able to get where you want to go. So the Germans need to have that aircraft there so they can be +4 to +2, or +6 to +2 if they're using an armored unit. But you get my point. The German air is important to make sure that the Soviets collapse. So it's down here basically for the winter. It's going to get a few sorties over the next couple turns, and then it's going to go down and try and help the Germans push the British back out of Basra, along with Italian help. And if we do that, great. If it comes like beginning of March and we haven't done it, we're only going to get a couple turns, and then it's like, in March, April, that airplane needs to start heading home or heading back to the east, because the Russians are going to have 4 aircraft, and I will have 2 Germans and an Italian. I'm going to need another German aircraft up there. I have to be at least on parity with the Russian Air Force so that I have a chance to finish them off in 42 in the summer. So that's a general thought there. This really is to try and entice him to move, the Russian to move down here with this Turkish move. But yeah, so like I said, I'm actually not going to do anything with the West. I'm just going to say pass. I'm not going to eliminate anything at this point. I am going to do my supply. We do this, and then we got to do the Force H thing that I always find it funny. It's like, yeah, Force H has to supply itself. Do you want to intercept with your surface action marker? And it's like, what? Because that's just the way it is. And I find it just sort of hilarious that they can't just say, I don't want to intercept this guy. You have to wait till this thing and you can say no more interceptions. Because using up that surface action marker for this is not worth it. I mean, I'm a +1 and he's a +3. I would probably be off the turn track for 2 or 3 turns, or 3 or 4 turns, because I probably would lose that combat. So I just say no, thank you, every turn. And then we're going to come up with the supply, and then you can see there's 1 that's used for the one in Basra, and 2 have to be used for the guys in the back. But I do need to use both of these here because I need to get this airplane down in sorties. I need to be down to 0 by the time the Germans show up with 1 or 2 on them. That way I can survive to defend the guy in Basra. So this is all, a timing game kind of thing. So we're just going to supply them all. And we're going to go into the Soviets. Ta-da. Now, for the Soviets, they can't really move these guys down here. They're kind of keeping these Turks from wandering around. So I've got 1, 2, 3, because I want to build a guy in Stalingrad. I've got 3 guys I can move here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can put the shock army here. I can put an infantry here and an infantry here. So I'm on this side of the Don, which is probably a good thing. I can't really move this infantry away from Novorossiysk unless I'm going to build someone in Novorossiysk, which I might do so that I can be along the Don and then maybe along the northern part of the Don. This guy, I think, is going to move up a bit, but only to like here or something. Because I don't want to really, quote, break my line. Would be nice if I could get multiple assaults off here, but I don't have any tanks anymore. Because like I said, I don't have a lot of points to spend here on all of this. Because I want to make sure I get at least 2 of my airplanes down. That's 6. And I've got 4 to build. 3 to build. So that's 9. 3 more would be 12. If I can get away with just moving 6 guys. Alright. I don't think I'm going to send... I want to send him up. Let's see, I could put him on this side of Stalingrad, couldn't I? Or I could put him closer to threatening something. Alright, let's not move him first. Let's see. I have an infantry. What have I got to move here? I'm going to build an infantry, so I can build him in like Novorossiysk. If he wants to come across the straits in severe weather, let him. So if I build him in Novorossiysk, and I build another shock army in Stalingrad, and I build the other shock army like up here in Kalinin, means I can move 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can set up for next turn. Oh, I need to save 3, 4, 5, 14. Alright, let's see if I can do this. Might not be able to bring up one of the airplanes. So I want to put this guy here. Come on, BGA. So we're going to move this. We're going to try and... no, we're not. We're not attacking. We're not stupid. What we're going to do is we're going to try and set up a halfway coherent defensive line here. This happens to me every time when I'm doing my streams, is it slows down when I start getting to the Allied side. Now, I know I'm going to build a shock army here, so I do not want him to be able to get to the shock army with a single attack, so I'm going to put this guy well, I could put him there and there. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'm going to go here. Oh, come on! Good Lord. Yeah, the servers on BGA are getting busy. Everybody's playing games here on Saturday instead of doing other things. Then I'm going to put this guy in here to there, and then that's going to be my sort of kind of defensive line. What am I down to? Down to 13. So that's 6 and 3 is 9, 10, 11. Maybe 2 more guys. So one of my airplanes is not going to come back again. Because I need to reflip these guys. So we're going to put this guy, just going to put him there. I think I'm going to say I'm done. So what that lets me have is I can flip 2 guys. I have 2 guys to flip. So that's 2. 3 to build. That's 5. And then 2 airplanes is 6. It's 11. So I could technically move 1 more guy if I wanted to, but I really don't see anybody I want to move. I mean, these guys are pretty much all in the places they need to be. Oh, I know what the one I was going to move. This guy, well, no, he's going to be at low supply, so I think I will let them retreat me. The reason being, if once they get around to retreat, now let's say we get to March or April and they haven't moved me, then I will spend a production point to take this infantry unit. This infantry unit, that's out here next to Viborg, he will actually move across the, oh, I can never read the names. I need the larger zoom out for, like, you know, strategic looking at it. But then when you want to actually see the details, you have to, like, zoom in so you can actually read what that says. What is that? Dvorsky? Pardon my pronunciation, Russian viewers. Or Finnish viewers, rather. But I'll go behind this river line because it's a -1 for the river, -1 for forest. And it makes sure that Leningrad is not isolated. So taking Leningrad becomes, first you got to take Hex 1445, then you can get an isolation attack on, or 2 on Leningrad. It's just one of those, that infantry unit that was, you know, defending Viborg, if once it loses Viborg, its next job is to keep Leningrad from being isolated. Because there's really no, it's just free points for the Germans in 42 if it's isolated, because they can use their heavy artillery there and get 2 rounds of attacks, and all they need to do is flip you on the first one and then get a retreat on the second, and then you're gone, and you lose up Leningrad. So anyway, so I could move 1 more Russian infantry, but I don't think I have any. Don't want to move these guys. They're kind of my defense there. Remember, next turn I'm going to get. Where's the? I'll go over here. So next turn, the Russians are going to pick up 4 infantry. When the Americans come in, Russians get up 4 infantry. They get another armored unit. They're going to get a Lend-Lease, get their surface action back, and Russian winter will begin. The Germans are going to get a ground support back. It's one of the reasons why I spent it this turn. Their tanks, and that's it. Germans don't get nothing. Okay. In January, we both get airplanes. The Russians get another factory. And our subs and ultras will be back fighting each other. Okay. And then the West gets their partisans, which means in February 42, the weather in the Middle East is going to be super important, because if it's fair, and I haven't kicked him out of Basra, those partisans could make a serious breakthrough possible, because they'll be -2 on a unit, which means I'd have to get the Italians out of the front line, because they would be -2 plus their tank would be 0, and the British could be attacking at like +4. So that's kind of important. You got to kind of look ahead a little bit on what you're going to get. Do not be in a hurry to knock the Germans out completely, like early in the war. All you have to do is keep them from doing what they want to do up until sometime in 1942. If you can keep them from doing what they want to do, then somewhere in 42 it will start to turn, and in 43 they will actually be flipped over onto the defensive. Which, you know, there are certain things about the German defense that are different than the West, whereas the West and the Soviets use terrain to their advantage and things like that, you know, trying to get you the maximum minuses to make you come down to their level. Once you see a lot of Guards armies and Guards tanks armies, and then, of course, the West are all, you know, basically elites. They're all +1s. +2 for armor, so they're like +3 units. You will find that the best German defense is localized attacks like, oh, look, there's a Guards tank army in the front lines, and you attack it to flip it. Maybe you get lucky and kill it, but more likely you want to flip it. Flipping it and a couple of its Guards infantry units that are next to it, now they're all -2. Now they're not so scary, and they're not going to push through your German line. So a lot of times you'll see the Germans, you'll see me at least as the Germans, is if you put some of that stuff in the front lines, and you have to in order to make headway, it's going to end up in the front lines, then it's like the next turn, you'll see me just flip them. Yeah, you've got the points to flip them back, but if I flip them, then their offensive potential for that turn is not there. And therefore, much harder for them to make, you know, a major breakthrough. That was one of the things that I learned in a couple of games against other opponents. And they were like, well, this is the way I want to try this. How does this work? And I'm like, it works as long as you can localize the attacks and don't go crazy. You got to save points for the Germans to, you know, replenish their stuff, because the Allies go after them. So they could end up with flipped units, used up aircraft and stuff like that. So you do have to save, you know, sometimes as much as half of your production points in 43 and 44 to replenish your units and or rebuild anything that they've eliminated, stuff like that. So you can't just like here, where I was spending all the way down to 9 for the Germans in a lot of cases. You know, I would spend down to 9 points, and you know, living on the edge. But I was like spending 19 points to move all my guys in the east, and then 9 points to bring back my airplanes. And it's like just not doing anything anywhere else. Unfortunately, because I was at 8 production points with the British, I really couldn't mount off a decent invasion anywhere, like into Norway or anything like that, because I just don't have the points to support it. Got lucky in Basra. All right, I think the Russians are done. They've got 12. That's 3 to build and 2 guys to flip. I don't see someone else to move. Technically, I could move this guy out and not try and contend for Bulgaria, but I think I'd rather stay there, and because all they can do is retreat me, which means I would be flipped. They'd have to make like multiple attacks here to do this, and if the Germans want to spend their resources killing this one little infantry unit outside of Bulgaria, let's go, let them. I mean, I'm already down at 28 willpower. I don't have a lot going for me. As far as survivability, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go down in 42, because 28's not that hard to get. 2 here, 2 here, that's 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Probably 11, 12. Moscow is 4, that's 14. There'll be a unit in Moscow, that's 15. There'll probably be a couple of units in these cities. 16, 17, 18, 19. So, you know, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that they will do that. One of the things I think about doing with the Russians here is it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That leaves me with 9 to try and set myself up so that all I'm doing is retreating and not necessarily losing units in these cities other than Moscow. And if I'm just retreating, I retreat my units, this guy pulls out and these guys pull north, and we go down to the one hex lane, 1 hex road all the way up to Murmansk. And then do the same thing with a lot of the army that's over here. It goes into this restricted area and blocks up the 2 space thing all the way to Archangel. Some of these guys go into the central Russia box, and the rest of the army just goes south and tries to form up down here. You can end up in late 42 with the Germans trying to punch through here. They've already taken 2 from Batam, so they need to take Granzi and this, and Akastran. That's 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. You're still with 28 will points. You still have 3 will points left, depending on where you lost armies. So that is a possibility for the Soviets to just say, no, we're just going to give the ground, like in April. They just say, okay, time to retreat. And they just pull everybody back and off the board and say, screw it. Defend at Akastran, defend in the Caucasus, and, in the northern routes. First along this river line, and then just back up this single track road, and this road with these things here, with guys sitting in these restricted areas which threaten the Germans. So they have to leave somebody behind to watch that. Usually 3 or 4 somebodies. And then they have to decide how they're going to go get their 28 points. We will see if that's what I decide to do. I did it once before, and it worked, but it worked because my opponent did not defend Finland properly early in the war, and I did not try to make any stands with the Russians. I just kept running as fast as I could towards the board edge, leaving like somebody in Moscow and, places like that actually mattered. I didn't make my stand until he was at the Kalinin Dawn line. But meanwhile, since I wasn't using my tanks for anything else, I used my tanks to go break into Finland, like I explained earlier in this video. I actually broke into Finland and conquered it. So the Russians had 6, 7 armies in Finland, and then I was defending up this road. I was defending up the Archangel area, and I was defending the Caucasus, and I only had like 12 will points left. I still had Batam, so he was looking at like, okay, 6 in the Caucasus and 2 for Akastran is, 8. And he'd already taken Moscow at that point, and then, he was looking like 8. I need 4 more cities. And it's like, well, there's 1 here and there's 1 there, and I have to lose units in order for you to get there, kind of thing. And then he was trying to figure out how he was going to get back in Finland to try and take like Vyborg and Leningrad and stuff. So while he was figuring that out, he was garrisoning with a Spanish unit out here in this swamp hex. Was the garrison in front of Leningrad, and he had his army really heavily committed going north and south. So he had some miners and a regular German infantry unit, but like, again, it was like a Spaniard and an Italian, maybe? It was a Spaniard and an Italian were 2 of the 3 units that he had on this front over here, by this restricted area, south of the box. And then he had a bunch of armies kind of watching me here, because I had 6 armies here, and I had 4 armies here, and a few extra off the bat box, and the rest was in the Caucasus and in Finland, in the northern reaches. And I got a fair weather turn where he didn't, he got up to Archangel, and he had pushed me almost to this junction here, and he was along this mountain line here. He'd taken Granzi, and it was like the only thing he really needed to get was Tiflis and Batum. The Turks were, slowly moving this way, and the Germans were this way. So I was getting caught in a vise where I was going to end up probably losing both those cities. And so he was looking at, okay, it's going to be hard, but I'm going to collapse you anyway. And then I just said, screw it, and I launched. And I went through those miners, because I had airplanes based in here, and I had an airplane based in Finland. Actually, I think I flew it from the north. I flew it down into Finland. So I blew up the Spaniard, and I made it all the way down to, Luki. I think I was adjacent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I made it to Smolensk and Veliluki, and I was adjacent to Rezev by the time I got done. I took Volkov. Breaking out from from Leningrad, I had a whole bunch of armies just sitting here in the isthmus, and they just started running. It's like we broke out and we started running. So we were close to Smolensk, Veliluki, and Volkov. It was like, oh my god. Then I broke out this way, and I made it all the way to Ryazan, and I think I actually had somebody that could actually run into Moscow. So now it's threatened to, I was cutting off his supply to his northern armies. So his northern armies had to turn around and come back to get me. And then it became a race because he didn't have anything between me and Germany, really. He had a couple of units. And he added more units as he went along. He pulled units back from the south and stuff, and ended up stopping me somewhere around the demarcation line. Is where he ended up stopping me. It's like in the Baltics, like along the Duna and the city line. No, I think I made it all the way to the Dnieper. Because basically the units that broke through, his German units came down. They couldn't quite get on good attacks, but they got close, and we're trying to reestablish supply. So all the units that broke through just said, "To heck with that. We're moving on to the next set of cities." And we kept running east. So he had to take units that he had. He actually lost some units on purpose in low supply, so he could build them back in Germany, so that he could have an army to slow me down there, and then the army that was pursuing me, kind of caught up and kind of broke through and got back on the right side of things. But it was by sometime in 1943, I think it was the summer of 43. We were fighting along the Dnieper and the Duna, which is fabulously good for the Russians. So, yeah, it was an interesting game to see that it was very important to make sure the garrisons you leave behind have to be ones that can actually defend themselves. All right. I don't see another real good move for the Russian infantry. I'm going to waste a production point here, but I just don't see a good... Well, I suppose I could move this infantry up to there, but I really don't want to. And I could move this infantry back there, but that's just giving him the move up to adjacent to Leningrad, so I don't want to do that. So I think I'm done. So pass the Russians. I'm going to have to end this stream, so it's only going to be one turn. Sorry, guys. I did get started a little late. My streaming software was giving me fits for whatever reason. Make sure all my guys are in supply. Show me my supply. Man, is it slowing down. I'm going to have to start doing these streams at like 8 in the morning so that I don't run into this. I don't see anybody that's out of supply, so we'll say supply all. No convoys, and... Alright, so now we're into replacements. The Italians have 11. They've got to do their airplane. We're just going to do convoys. And now the Germans have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, they got to do the convoy. Right. And then I think the 2 6s. For sure. Yeah, 6. Got to do him. And we got to do this guy because targets. And then we're going to go ahead and do this guy because targets. And then we only have 2 left, but we don't really have anybody to build or anything, so we're done. We confirm. We are done. And now the British, we talked about this, that they have to go. And this is where, this is a nice feature of BGA. You can just go and click on the unit on the map that's, sort of outlined here to replenish your the right unit instead of trying to figure out which unit it is. Because sometimes when you have a whole list of them like that, you're not sure which airplane or whatever you're doing. And if you only have limited points and can only do so many, that's what you do is you just go to the map and click on the guys you want to actually replenish. It's a nice little feature. When you're doing the board game, obviously you just, you see the units and stuff and you just go grab them on the map. So we confirm that. And then the Russians, I need to save 3. So I want to get my 2 shock units face up. So basically I can do 2 aircraft. And I think I want to do this one down here. And guy in the north, maybe? I don't see me attacking into this fair terrain here this first winter turn. I just don't have the massive units to do that. I'll have to build those guys in December. Then I might have enough units to go in here. So I think we're going to do the guy way up north, because then I could fly one in and maybe be used for multiple attacks on Bologoy. So we'll try that. Let's see if that's a good move or not. Probably not. All right, and then I am done, because I want to be able to build, right? The British won't be able to move. Mobilize units. I love that. Mobilize units that you cannot afford. It really should just skip me, but it doesn't. If you have something in the mobilization box, it will, or in the surprise attack marker box, it will always ask you if you want to build. And then the Soviets most definitely are going to build. Let's see. I think I said I was going to put a shock army here, right? Coming in. I was putting a shock army there. I was putting an army. Hello. Army. Putting an army down here in this space. Because I don't want the German infantry just to run across and grab a city. He's got to fight me now. He might still come across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He can't. It costs 9 movement points to go across that strait from where he is and attack me, which he doesn't have. He only has 8. And then I had another shock army, and I was thinking about putting it in Stalingrad. Because if the German army wants to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and attack me at 0 to -1, plus I have an airplane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So it'd be 0 to 0, and if he took the hex, then he has to figure out how to supply it. So I don't think I'm too much danger of him pulling off a Stalingrad, especially since it's not the German 6th Army down there. It's the German 2nd. It has more brains. I don't even think the German 6th Army is in Russia, is it? There it is. It's up north. We're not letting them anywhere near Stalingrad. Alright. And that's all I can do there. Alright, so I'm done with that. That's it. So the U.S. has entered the war. That's going to change the strategic warfare calculus to being +2 for the West and +4 for the Germans. You can see here I've gotten my surface action back. He has gotten his free forces he still has in his tanks and his surprise attack marker for the British. There will be no declarations of war when we get to that next turn here in December. But also, the other thing that has happened is you will see it didn't say. Oh, the U.S. one prompted the Russian winner. Interesting. Usually there's a note about the Russian winner begins too. Sort of a message like you saw for the U.S. entry. So I guess it must overlay each other. Anyway, so we're going to be December of 1941 next time. Okay. I need to wrap this up. This is getting very frustrating, the lag time here going to BGA. Next one I do, maybe I'm going to start a little bit earlier in the morning to try and get through things. Laura Marlowe. That looks like a VUR.FYI sounds like not a real person. Okay. Yeah. Won't even scroll. So anyway, that's Unconditional Surrender for the November 1941 turn. We'll do December next time I stream. Not exactly sure what day that's going to be. It's probably going to be almost a week before I have time off. I believe I work like Tuesday through Friday next week. And I'm doing something else on Monday. So, yeah, this may be a whole week before I get off another stream. If I'm working late, like at 12 o'clock, I might try to get up and try and do an 8 o'clock stream sometime next week. But I will figure that out, and you will see it posted up on my channel, which is Dren608, aka Fred Bookholz. So that's the way Google wants me to do that. It's not. I started it off with just my name, thinking I wasn't going to do much here, and then I started doing a lot of videos and everything. So I wanted to make sure that you all had my handle name on Board Game Geek and lots of other sites that I go to, Steam and stuff. So Dren608 is what I go by. Anyway, if you like what you see, hit the thumbs up button. It helps the algorithm of YouTube when they go searching for videos, and it helps motivate me to keep putting out content, because if people are watching it and hitting the like button, then I'll keep doing it. I don't have nearly enough followers to monetize this. I think I'm at 150 something, and I'm, that's just the way it is. This is a niche kind of thing that I'm doing. I'm not trying to become an influencer or whatever. I just think these things are entertaining, and I want to make sure that other people can see the variety of different board games that are out there that, can challenge your mind and make you think about history in a different way, so to speak. All right. What else? Oh, yeah, if you really like what you see, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notify button, and then you'll get a notification that says, hey, he's, going to stream X day, X time. Or, he posted ABC video or whatever. And let's see, what else is there? Oh, and my other stream that I'm doing right now is the RPG one. I will be doing that on Monday morning. It's the Bart's Tale is what it's called. It's available on Steam. It's all 3 volumes. The volumes came out like every other year back in the late 80s, early 90s. Might and Magic, and Ultima at the time were all the cutting edge of RPG computer games. We went from text-based games, which is how they started out, to actually having graphics for your movement, so you can actually, it looks like you're walking down the street, it looks like you're walking through the room, that kind of thing. So at the time, it was, earth-shaking. We were all amazed. These days, with all the graphics, 20, it's not even 20 years. Is it? It's 20, it's a little bit under 30 years, and now you've got, virtual realities, and the CGIs and everything are so much better or whatever. So this is an old throwback game, and I kind of like it. I'm wandering through Scarbray, rediscovering all the things that I once used to know by heart because I played the game quite a bit. So you can check that out too if you'd like. And I think that's it for today. So until we meet again, stay safe. Bye-bye.